Well, hello and welcome to another installment of Thoughtful Thursdays. I'm excited to share this concept and idea with you, or concepts and ideas I should say, and I hope this framework is beneficial to you. Let's just dive right in because this is going to take a little bit to grok and understand and to kind of get a sense of. So I really want to talk about creating our own vocabulary, and by that meaning we need to define ways that we define words. So having looked at so many wise and intelligent people in spiritual growth, personal development, throughout the ages, through writings, through talkings, through teachings, etc., one thing that I've noticed is that some of the most advanced people have a clear way of defining the vocabulary of their lives. And you may notice this as well, that in good books, in the worlds of self-help, personal development, people will define what things mean. So it might be the term, what does tranquility mean to me? Or in the context of a conversation, what does integrity mean to me right now, in this present moment, or for me in the grand scheme of things? What do values mean? You know, and the reason why this is so important, because I've had this conversation with friends and they say, oh, you know, that's you're just kind of getting caught in the words. And in actuality, I'm not. I'm trying to add more clarity when I have a conversation, because the linguistics are a quintessential part of how we navigate our consciousness in this world. And I'm going to use an analogy here that I think is beneficial. There are Polynesian cultures that have sailors that for as far back as I know and that I've read about, were able to navigate the high seas in small canoes and travel thousands and thousands of miles by listening to the ocean, the rhythms of the ocean, by looking at the sky and the stars, and they could travel from the Cook Islands to the Hawaiian Islands, from all these huge, vast distances that even today's world could be hard to navigate with all the digital technology we have with global mapping. What they have is a definition of the world that was around them. They were out at sea and they could understand the tide patterns. They could understand what the sky looked like in order to navigate in these tiny vessels thousands of miles. Now, most of us don't live in a world like that anymore. We have phones that I'm recording on in our pockets, which have the Library of Alexander on them, as well as 1 billion cat videos. We have the resources at our disposal to live like kings. So we're not necessarily tapped into a world that is that attuned to the natural rhythms. But we are attuned to concepts, especially if we're involved in these elements of personal growth, spiritual growth, personal development, and everything that affects in our lives, relationships, growing businesses, art, creativity, love, sex, vitality, and the list goes on and about how these things can affect the quality of our lives. This is what we're navigating now. We're navigating concepts in order to build better businesses, to build better us's, to build better relationships. And so we need to know what these things mean to us, because just like that sailor knew that a tide coming from the south with a certain temperature when clouds were growing at the eastern horizon had a particular meaning, if we were out there, we wouldn't even necessarily notice that. And if we don't clarify that around the words that we use, we're basically floating in a sea of concepts, and usually it's other people's definitions of the words that we use. And we haven't taken the time to find out what they mean to us in order to navigate in a more clear and concise fashion. And I'll dig down a little bit deeper by giving something that I think is very important about finding clarity. And that's the word purpose. Purpose gets thrown around a lot in life, and I hear it oftentimes utilized as goals. People think that their goals are a purpose. And if that is something that's true for you, and it may or may not be, I'd ask for you to look into that and see why you might think that those things are the same. Because in my vocabulary and what I have defined and what I have found many very successful people have defined is that those two things are very different. My goal sets are involved around the physical world, attainment of certain things, achievement of certain things, but that is not what, for me, my purpose is. My purpose is what drives me to do those things. My purpose is a defining factor of who I am. If I achieve those goals or not, my purpose is still there. In fact, I may have my purpose being shown through achieving those goals or a completely different set. So take, for example, if my purpose in life is to aid people into finding deeper understandings of themselves so that they can live a more full and enriched life, so that then they can pass on more love throughout the world, and that is a purpose of mine, my purpose, then putting out this video or these series of videos over this year and coming years, I could look at as a goal set, but they're not my purpose. The video is just an expression of that purpose, and I can show that purpose by showing up in a wonderful conversation with a friend, by creating art and music, by having a wonderful smile and connection with somebody, even just for a brief moment. So my purpose can be expressed through goals or through the way I live my life, as compared to just combining purpose and goals. And now we could go through all the strata of vocabulary and start defining these out. And I urge you to take some time and think about this and contemplate this and journal about this, because this provides a foundation for you to create your reality on your terms. Our concepts are what we create our reality around. Our concepts are created out of words. Our words are our thoughts, and our thoughts that continually happen and are habitual are the way that our life becomes. So the more clarity we have around that, the more clarity we can have around affecting the world in order to create a life that we desire to live. So by simply taking this time to find out what things mean to us and define them in this moment for us, then we can live a more complete, full, fulfilling, happy, and love-filled life. It's a lot. Well, thank you for joining me on this Thoughtful Thursday. I hope that's beneficial. Maybe it spurs other thoughts. Maybe it spurs some controversy or those sort of things. Please add any comments, questions, or concerns down below, and follow me on all the usual social media areas. I'd love to hear from you. So thank you for taking the time, and I'll see you next week.